Welcome back, guys. In this video, I'm going to go over 3 ways to fix your chronic fatigue. How I did it, why I did it the way I did it, and how I would do it differently if I had to go back and do it over again. So if this is you, if you have chronic fatigue, brain fog, poor digestion, lethargy, if you feel any of these symptoms, these are really just signals for your life, for your body telling you course change is at hand. Stick around to the very end of this video. You're gonna wanna hear all of this. So back in 2012, I graduate college, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, East Tennessee, beautiful landscape, incredible people. I thought, this is where I'm gonna be the rest of my life. I had a mentor, I had friends, I was in a fraternity, I had a ministry that I had been serving in. It had really done so much for my life. I was playing music as a drummer. I had all of these assets, everything I'd ever want. The relationships were all there. But inside, things were not at rest. Things were not in the parasympathetic nervous system spot for me. I was up and down, and I realized, looking back, I was living other people's ideas and paths for my own life. Does that make sense? I was not ambitious enough or thinking through even or getting clear enough, getting quiet space, nature, to reflect, what do I want to do? Like, why am I here? Like, yes, other people can help craft why we're here to do certain things. God puts people on our paths for many fantastic reasons, right? So I am nothing but grateful and thankful for these mentors and friends and these groups that I was in, because I was a part of many groups, serving, involved in the city. You know, I was very much ingrained in the tapestry of what Knoxville was doing at the time. And so I look back, and no wonder I was spread thin. I wasn't sleeping well. And at one point, I started to get back into, and we're going to talk about this today, this yo-yo dieting culture, this diet culture, because I was going to try to, tweak something, and I had found carnivore, and I thought, this is my answer. I want to try it, right? And to be honest, I broke. I completely shut down. My body went into total survival mode, is what was happening. I had signaled to my body over a long enough period of time that there was not enough inputs, abundance, things in my environment that made me feel safe, that were nutrient dense, and that allowed my body to come down, right? I was constantly on. And so over time, as we use adrenaline as our number one source and our normal source of energy and of response, especially, our adrenal system, it goes into hyperdrive, and it ends up just crashing, right? It's like a bank account if you think about it. You keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and just like Velcro, over time, it's going to stop sticking as well, right? This is what happened to me. So, number 1, how to address your chronic fatigue. You have to get radically honest with yourself. That is first and foremost, okay? I'm sitting here with a cup of coffee. Now this is a latte. This is balanced with some dairy and even some sugar, because that's how I do it these days. And back then it was the opposite. For me, I thought, okay, what are the people saying out there? I'm going to take their advice, okay? And I'm going to use it to apply to my life. I'm going to take their principles, apply it to my principles, and I'm going to sort of figure this out, and I'm going to do what they do, and maybe it'll work for me. And if you do that over and over and over and over, even subconsciously, what are you telling yourself? You don't trust yourself. You're just pinballing everywhere of all this health advice and different types of directions. Think of what you're signaling hormonally to your body, right? No wonder you don't feel safe, or your body doesn't feel safe. So the first piece here is to get radically honest, and the number 1 thing, and number 1 in this video, is to stop yo-yo dieting. You have to get back to a place of signaling abundance in your life for your body, okay? What does nature show? And nature, as like Instagram channels will say, like, nature is metal. I get it. It is somewhat of a survival. But if you just look at this peace and serenity behind me, if this was an orchard behind me, what would you see? You would see nothing but fruit. You'd see nothing but assets. You'd see nothing but nutrition. Our body just soaks that nutrition up. It's like in fruit. God provided enzymes, say inside an orange, so that on paper, doctors or scientists, people say, oh my gosh, this is going to spike your blood sugar. You can't have too much of fill in the blank natural sugar. But if you understand how your body digests an orange or a pineapple or honey, there are enzymes inside that fruit, living enzymes, that help you not only digest it, but shuttle those nutrients around in the bloodstream, and the sugar itself. It balances out so beautifully. There's no reason to get into all the details. And so knowing that, no wonder when we tarnish these products, when we tarnish our approach to how we eat things, how we take in nutrients, when we get all in the numbers and try to figure it all out and quantify it, dude, you just get so freaking whacked out, right? And you pinball. And no wonder we hold on to weight, because we don't feel safe. It's natural. It's a natural mechanism of our body to hold on to fat, because it is a survival mechanism to, there's not enough in my environment, I'm going to hold on to fat because I'm going to need it at some point. When you have plenty in your environment, it's 2025, right? There's too much. So simplify. And this is where a baseline comes in, guys. So get back to, find a baseline for you. What foods do you digest well that are hopefully grown locally and seasonally in your area and are nutrient dense, meaning there is applicable nutrients in each bite. And if you don't know what actually has the most, nutrients or nutrient density, because there's a lot of noise out there, plant-based, vegan, carnivore, this and that, like keto. There are charts I can provide you. And yes, you can become Dr. Google and just look this up yourself. Typically speaking, the animal kingdom, saturated fats, things of that nature, provide the most. I'm not even talking meat. We eat tons of meat. But things like honey, any bee product, fantastic. And things that are grown from the ground, right? So again, I think like mangoes and watermelon and like things that come from nature are, typically speaking, no secret here, the most nutrient dense. So to address your chronic fatigue, you get radically honest, right? That's just like the overarching theme of life. And then number one, we have to stop yo-yo dieting. You got to stop. It is signaling to your body that you're not safe, that you're restricting, you're withholding. I understand a baseline, and I started with the baseline. So I got back to a place where I just cut out chemicals, I cut out processed ingredients, right? I cut out gluten. And at the time, I cut out conventional dairy. I did end up bringing dairy back, and it radically changed my life. And I'll get into that in a different video. So find your baseline, easily digestible foods, cutting out the chemicals, probably the gluten for most people. I'd seriously consider it. Things that are nuked, like conventional dairy is just freaking nuked, right? They just heat it up. Some people do okay. If you digest it well, go for it. And then things from the animal kingdom or that grow from the ground, okay? Number two, after you have gone to your baseline, you've got to find that baseline first. Hello, Mr. Ant. Number two, you have to slow down. I know that we as men like to hard charge, and women, and it can feel good to bulldog your way through life, especially when things are stacked against you. But if you're in chronic fatigue, life is trying to signal to you to slow down. Slow down. You need to reset, if anything. You need to slow down. You need to, in essence, find out who you are again. You're going too fast. And adrenally, this is what nourishes the adrenal glands. This is what I had to do. So I cut out the processed crap and the chemicals, right? I got back to a baseline. I was doing things like eggs, lean proteins. I think at the time I I thought this is what I needed to do then, was, cut out fats. Now I know how nutrient dense fats are. So I would include more saturated fats if I had to do this over again. And natural carbs like honey, maple syrup, fruit, things of that nature. But slowing down was what life was trying to do to me. And so once I did slow down, I had met my wife. Now, she was just another, she was a woman at the time. She was not even my girlfriend. She was slowing down too. And so we did this together. We're doing real estate so we could work, on our own time. And that really helped too. And that's for probably another episode, another video of, do you control your own time truly, and is there a way where you can build a business or something that you want to do where you can work for yourself if that's not you? So I had to slow down. I had to get really slow with how I was approaching my day, my schedule, and I could still do the things I needed to do for work, make phone calls and stuff like that, but I slowed down. And bonus points here, I took it all outside. So anything I did indoors, I started doing outdoors. And I saw a massive, massive incline in energy, a massive increase in deep sleep, because I had insomnia at the time. And I noticed I wanted blue light, like a TV and my phone, less when I was getting more natural light. It's almost like an inverse relationship, right? I didn't want as much. So that was incredibly helpful for my body, for my psyche, and overall my energy levels, like how I felt. So into 2017, oh, it was a lightning bug during the day. So I was starting to eat clean foods again. I had found my baseline. I had found a way in my life to slow down, okay? I saved this last one. I saved this big one last on purpose because it's probably the most difficult and the most necessary one. And it's moving. It's changing environments. There is an adage that says you can't heal in the same environment that you got sick in. Now, I don't think that's always the case, but for a lot of cases, it's very true. Environment plays a huge role subconsciously and consciously in how we're doing, feeling, and being day to day. Think about that for a second. Think of any time in life where you're working a job or living in a certain place, and once you left that job or moved from that apartment or wherever it was, or maybe it was your childhood home, just by removing yourself from that environment, like things just fell off of you without you even having to address them. They, in essence, took care of themselves. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we want to happen when we move from an environment that we're not doing well in. So for me, I was in a roommate situation, loved everyone dearly, was listening to too many people in my life on their trajectory for me. And I had a job offer come up in real estate for a man who I was discipling his son. Incredible man, was going to groom me in real estate and show me the way. And trust me, I would work for this man today. Like, he is incredible. But God and life were saying it's a no. There's more for you. And now I know it wasn't in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I felt that. I knew that, but I was resisting that. And man, if I can be honest, I was having a hard time with this decision. I uncharacteristically was turning to like alcohol to just sort of come down from like the wrestling that was going on. I was getting anxious. I wasn't sleeping well. Now I was also, I didn't know at the time, severely into my hypothyroidism season. So my thyroid was tanked. I actually had Hashimoto's thyroiditis. For those of you that know what that is, I can speak to that on another video. and I medicated, and I just medicated from that decision. And my heart knew the right answer, and it didn't make sense to me. My mind and my heart weren't connecting. And in my despair, I finally made the decision on my own, my first manly decision, to leave Knoxville and go start over in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm glad I did, because I met my wife 5 months later. You know, I actually went to another real estate job up here, but it was, you know, residential real estate. It wasn't making like, you know, salary and commission. It was just straight up another commission only situation where I had to work and claw my way out of my hole, you know, into the light again. So I say all that to say that leaving my environment there, which wasn't a bad environment, it just wasn't where I was meant to be. It wasn't where I was supposed to be, and I had to get honest with that. Once I left it and was in Columbus, you know, I'm going to a more northern latitude, less light during the winter time, and yet still by April or May, I saw so much healing. And then, like I spoke to earlier in this video, I started getting outside more, and that just catapulted my healing, man. I took all my phone calls on speakerphone, started getting it off my head, either doing headphones wired or speakerphone on the patio of coffee shops outside in the sun. And man, I hadn't felt that good since I was a kid living out in Southern California. And all I had to do was step back into the light, literally, while working. And so I started sleeping better. My stress levels were decreasing. And even things like deals and making money were actualizing. The more sun I got, the better I felt. It's just all vitality begets vitality, right? So to summarize, I got radically honest with myself. I stopped yo-yo dieting and found a baseline of eating for me and hydration, like what actually was fueling my body with hydration and minerals, right? Not just plain water, structured water like coconut water. Now I do a lot of raw dairy, fruit juices. I stopped being so scared of restriction and no sugar. That's not even, none of that's true. And number 2, I slowed down. Life said, Colin, slow down. And sometimes you gotta slow down to go faster. And that's what I did. And then number 3, the biggest one, and this is not applicable for every single person, I realize that. But for a lot of people, it's at least worth, like if anything, it's gonna solidify where you already are, where maybe you're supposed to be, by just thinking through, am I called to be here, right? Like go through those scenarios for you. That'll solidify, if anything, and make you grateful for where you're at, if you're not supposed to move, right? And there's no supposed to's here. There's prayer. There's meditation, there's getting into nature, and just go talk to God, go talk to yourself, whatever you need to do. Call up a loved one. You know, they know you better than you know yourself sometimes, because we just get so much in a rut with our thoughts and how fast life moves. So number 3 was, and the biggest one was moving environments for me. And those 3 things right there can change your life. They will reverse chronic fatigue. They will actualize what life is trying to tell you, and you will feel like yourself more than ever before. So I hope this has been helpful. Please put in the comments what sticks out to you. What things are stirring in you right now? Which one might be most applicable for you? Which ones are you having troubles with? Like, ask me a question. I'm here, guys. Let me know which ones are alive for you, and I'll see you in the next video.